In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I want to show you astrologically how you can identify the best way for you to process your trauma in a way that's going to be effective, successful, and sustainable for you. And this is by looking at your 8th house. This is going to save you so much time and energy because there are so many wonderful, beautiful ways to process traumas, and oftentimes a lot of people that have had positive experiences will promote those, will rave about something, and then people feel discouraged when they try to give it a shot because it's not effective for them. And it's because you're using a system that's incompatible. So what I want you to do is take a look at your chart, and I want you to identify what's in your 8th house. You want to look at the element and the sign that you have here because that's going to tell a story of the best way for you to process your traumas. So now let's just say, for example, you have a fire sign in your 8th house of trauma. Then you might have more of a more direct way to process trauma that's going to be effective. Now, before I continue, I should mention that this is also, the energy is going to change if you have any planets or anything like that. This is a generalized reading, but this is really basically to say that, like, say, for example, you have a fire sign in your 8th house of trauma, using physical activity and taking a direct approach can be most effective for you. Say, for example, you have Aries. This is a very initiating sign. It represents athleticism. So using exercise as you're processing trauma can be really beneficial. And it doesn't even mean that you have to necessarily go through a lot of talk therapy or have a lot of conscious awareness of it, because it's more of a physical process. Because Aries is home to the 1st house. This represents newborns. So it's not necessarily the sign where you have to have all of the information, but it's a very active sign. And so if you have Aries in your 8th house of trauma, when it comes to doing exercise, this can be as simple as when you're running around. I know that for myself, when I'm doing exercise, and if I set the intention to process trauma, release whatever I have inside of me, something that I can usually do in 10 minutes, I'll be like, for 10 minutes, I'll get wiped out in 3 minutes of time. So there's a lot of different, it's a really interesting process, but using exercise, whether it's just day-to-day activity or using bioenergetics, for example, it's a trauma releasing exercise where you kind of like shake your body and you basically emulate what animals naturally do, which allow them to process their traumas in an effective way because they're not trapping the trauma inside of them. That's something that can be really effective. Sorry for the noise. And so that's something that you can definitely give a shot of, using something that's more physically stimulating. If you have Leo here, also something physically stimulating, but something that's creative. This can be dance, performance. Some people try to process their traumas through improv, through comedy. If being in the spotlight is something that's uncomfortable for you, like say for particularly with the Leo being in your 8th house, which is a very private sign, or if you have Saturn here, for example, you may not necessarily feel the most comfortable putting yourself in the spotlight, but it could also be something like talking to children, doing something creative, doing art, something that energizes you, gives you a sense of confidence, something that's physically stimulating, something when you're out in the sun, hiking. I know of a therapist who used to offer her therapy sessions on hiking sessions. So particularly say you have like Mercury in Leo, this can be a great way to use that energy. Now if you have Sagittarius in your 8th house of trauma, using astrology can be great because astrologers are ruled by Sagittariuses. Also, essentially, any kind of spirituality, religious convictions that you have, philosophy, seeing the higher perspective of things, maybe even traveling and positioning yourself where you see things from a different angle, because Sagittarius are represented by a centaur. It's a half human, half horse. So they're physically taller than us. They have the higher intelligence of humans and the animalistic instincts, and the primal instincts of animals. And so they have sort of like this awareness, and so finding a way to kind of combine that too, where you can take action, participate in spirituality in some way, that can be something that is going to be really beneficial for you. Also, potentially working with someone from a different culture, of different countries, traveling, foreigners, someone where their perspective might be different from what you're used to can be really beneficial because of the way that they see the world and how it can be refreshingly different from what you're used to. Now, if you have an air sign in your 8th house of trauma, then you want to use an approach that's going to be more practical, easy to maintain, logical, sustainable. These are the things that are really important. And until you find that motivation, it may be a little bit more difficult for you to find something that sticks, and that's okay. Just honor that process and that rhythm you have there. Now say you have Taurus here. Wherever Taurus is in your chart, the energy moves the slowest. So if you have Taurus here, you're a Libra rising, and oftentimes this is where people may have a harder time, or it takes you longer to process your trauma unless you have Mars here or something like that. And it's important to be patient with yourself, and shaming yourself, making yourself feel bad, those aren't going to be things that help you. Taurus rules the 5 senses, so using massage therapy could be something really beneficial, especially if, say, you're a Cancer sun or your moon is in Cancer. Then there's different types of therapy, such as Arvigo therapy, which is a healing Mayan holistic massage where they treat digestive and reproductive imbalances, and these issues tend to arise specifically with traumas. So it's sort of like this lower area that there's a massage. And there's another type of massage, it's like Chin Sing, I'm so sorry, like I'll have to write it down, pull it up for you guys, but it's a type of Asian massage where they do like massages in the stomach and they release trapped trauma. So that can be something that's really beneficial. Things that are related to hiking, gardening, things that relate to the 5 senses. But honestly, massage therapy is a great way. Oftentimes we have trapped traumas inside of our bodies, so this is something that can be really good for Tauruses. One thing I will say is Tauruses can do exceptionally well with EFTs as well. This is also the case with Virgos and Capricorn to a lesser degree as well, or I shouldn't say lesser degree, but just in general, like EFTs are, it's called emotional freedom technique, and you basically tap on specific acupressure points. And so I'm going to do it right now, and so that you can kind of get it, so you know where the pressure points are. As you're sitting here and you're upset and frustrated about something, wait, what is it? It's like here, 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 your shoulder, your collarbone, and then under your armpits. And so oftentimes it's phrased like, even though I have this trapped trauma and I'm still angry, I haven't been able to let go of this trauma, I still deeply love and trust myself. Even though I have this trapped trauma and I haven't been able to process it, I'm still experiencing a lot of frustrations, I still love and trust myself. That's basically the rhythm of EFT. And I find that EFT works tremendously well for people who have strong earth in their chart. This is something that works really well because it is a subtle thing. It's a touch technique. Taurus rules the 5 senses, such as touching. So it's all of these things that it really helps with. And I've heard stories of people who have had really debilitating anxiety, or will literally break out into a panic attack because they have a hard time dealing with spiders or something. And by doing this for 5 minutes, they've literally been able to resolve lifelong debilitating fears and traumas. It's really amazing. And it's a free thing that anyone can do. Now, for me personally, this hasn't been really that effective, but it's something that earth signs do exceptionally well with, so it's something that I do recommend. And let's see, with Tauruses, massages, essential oils, being really patient with yourself, creating an environment where things are supporting you in your 5 senses, having messages visually that support you, using music therapy can be really beneficial as well. These are things that can be extremely supportive. Now, if you have Virgo here, same thing. EFT can be wonderful because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is very much like in your headspace, and it's all about, Mercury is meant to kind of repeat things. Because there's repeated patterns and lessons that come with Mercury, which is why EFT could be really beneficial. But the other thing is Mercury is here to make corrections and improvements. Mercury too, but specifically Virgo. And this is why Virgo rules is home to the 6th house, is about open problems, enemies, challenges, because Virgos are here to correct things. And so if you have Virgo in your 8th house of trauma, you may experience a lot of criticism and frustration. And that criticism, pay attention to what it is that you're saying. It's not that those criticisms are true, but understand that the reason why you're saying this is because your mind wants you to improve upon that area. So think of logical, practical ways that you can improve upon it. Also study, learn things. Virgo loves to do that. Using tried and true methods, talking, writing, journal therapy is really great for Virgos. If you're going to see a therapist, someone who promotes writing therapy is really great. The physical therapist that I used to see, in their office, they had a psychiatrist, and they used to have like weekly Zoom sessions where you could do some writing sessions as well. My friend Deanne, actually, she has weekly sessions where she facilitates journal prompts. I'll leave her information below as well. That's definitely something that would be phenomenal for Virgos. This is something that can be really helpful. Using herbs, nutrition, making sure that your body is physically healthy, because when it comes to trauma, it's not just about psychological trauma, but it's also what are you consuming emotionally, what are you listening to, what about your physical body. And with the Virgo, you're ruled by, you rule physical health issues. So really making sure that you are being as natural as possible, eating healthy, these are going to be really beneficial for you. And this is a generalization. This isn't medical advice of any kind. None of this entire video isn't. I'm just translating the astrological information here. But Virgos, because it rules the mind, can get kind of like in the nervous system, it can get overstimulated. And so when this happens, it's actually better when sometimes for Virgos, when you're feeling overwhelmed, to not necessarily eat, because digestion is the #1 energy drainer. And so you may be so in your head that the actual physical energy that it requires to digest food can be overwhelming for you. So if you're a Virgo moon, Virgo rising, this is more of a common theme, to a lesser degree with the Virgo sun. But specifically if you have Virgo in your 8th house, it could show up that when you're experiencing trauma, it may be harder for you to kind of eat heavier foods. So in that case, have some foods, like have some soups, things that are easier to digest. If your body doesn't run too cold, then having smoothies, something where the food is pre-digested, or makes it or something that is easy for your body to digest, can be something that's really beneficial for you. Now, if you have Capricorn in your 8th house of trauma, Capricorn rules old people. So this shows that as you get older, it's going to be easier and more successful for you to process your trauma. And when it comes to Capricorn, if you're in the same generation as me, you're going to have Neptune here. And Neptune dissolves the energy, so it's going to sort of switch up the energy of Capricorn, because Capricorn rules power, status, traditions. So theoretically, this could mean that if you have Capricorn here, the best way for you to process trauma is in traditional ways that are older, and this can still very much be true. But normally, if you don't have Neptune here, I might say working with someone who has a successful business and established public reputation of being very good at helping people to process their traumas would be something that can be supportive for you. But if you have Neptune here, it sort of dissolves that energy. So it may not necessarily be about working with someone who has public status and hierarchy in the world. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. I have a friend who's a Gemini rising and has Capricorn in her 8th house. She's Neptune there, and Capricorn ruling work. One of the things that she does as a way to process trauma, she's Black, is she's worked with businesses, teaching them how to dismantle systemic oppression, racism. She helps businesses to become decentralized and stuff. So it's literally dissolving certain archetypes of Capricorn, and by doing this, she's able to heal some of her trauma. So this can be a way that it works out. It could also be improving your relationship with your father. Capricorn represents the father. It could be finding professional success. This could also help you, particularly if you have had some insecurities about your place in the world and your self-worth, and you have a certain level of professional accomplishment. That could sort of help you to shift some of your thoughts and correct some of your thinking. So these are a couple of ways that you can go about doing that. And trying to think, you know what? So let's stick with this for right now. And so this will be part 1 on the best way for you to process your traumas. And keep an eye out for part 2, where I'm going to be talking about the best way for you to process your trauma when you have air and water signs in your 8th house. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and have a wonderful day, and be out in the sun. That's also a great way to process, a great way to kind of work through things and help with your mental health and your state of mind. That's definitely something to do, especially on this beautiful Sunday. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.